go for your dreams, because you're going to be a survival guide for someone else, or you're going to change so many people's lives. And you got to fight through that imposter syndrome, which I think is a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But if you wouldn't have done that, I mean, if you would have stayed in real estate, like you have such a great following, you have a very high following on Instagram, you have a huge successful academy, a podcast that's about to hit 1 million downloads, like all of that would have been non-existent if you wouldn't have gotten curious and said, I need more. And I know I can be more, and I know I can serve better.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this.
Hey, Badass Manifestors. Welcome back to the show. This is Jenna from Ashley's team, and I am so excited to announce that this week's episode is an interview that Ashley did for the Recovering Perfectionist podcast with Christine Bar-Noel. We hope you enjoy it, and we wish you the happiest holiday season.
Welcome back to another episode of the Recovering Perfectionist podcast. And I told you the season 5 we were going big, you guys, and we are going big today. I am here with the definition of big coach energy and quantum coach Ashley Gordon. She is the founder of the Quantum Coaching Academy and the Badass Manifester podcast, which is literally about to hit 1 million downloads. Ashley, welcome to the Recovering Perfectionist.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. I am so over the moon to have you here. We have so many amazing things to talk about. We're going to get into quantum coaching, energy, your podcast, all the things. First, I want you to give a little bit of introduction of kind of like, you know, your story and a cliff notes. Yes. I know that's hard to do for any of us, but I just want people to get to know you a little bit. Obviously, I can read a fabulous bio. You have a lot of accolades, you know, on your resume. But who is Ashley Gordon?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first and foremost, perfectionist, recovering perfectionist.
Yes. Welcome to the community. We're all friends here. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Ashley. I'm a perfectionist. Nice to meet you all. So the Cliff Notes version is really, I never knew what I wanted to do in life. Like I never had that like, oh, I want to be this, or oh, I want to do that. I never had that feeling. After college, I went into real estate, which was where my my boyfriend was in real estate. And, I was there for 4 years and it sucked my soul out of my body. It was like really, really tough for a lot of different reasons. And I was trying to live like that perfect life of like showing my mom, like I have a normal socially acceptable job. And, I make a good income and I drive a nice car and all that stuff. And like my life looks like I have my shit together. And inside it was just not the case. I was just so miserable. And, I worked with my, future in-laws, which was really challenging for me. And, cause I just wanted to be liked. So I was really selling real estate to like get that love and acceptance and approval. And, I couldn't go on living my life like that anymore. So I had to get real, and I was in a yoga training at the time, and they held me accountable to like leaving the job, which I wanted to do anyway. And I had to have a really tough conversation with my now mother-in-law. And it was really, really hard. And I didn't know where my life was going after that. I was like, I left real estate. I got married right after that and graduated from yoga teacher training. And I ended up working at the front desk of my yoga studio, and I was making $10 an hour. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
And so timeline wise,
Yeah.
like where are we at year wise here?
That was 2015.
Okay.
Yep. So 2015, all that went down. And I was at that yoga studio for like a good year and a half before I kind of figured out what was my next thing, like what was my thing. Like, and I kept asking the universe, like, what is my calling? I was always into manifestation, mindset, energy, all of that, but I never ever considered that could be a job or a career. It was just
Right.
something that I loved. And so I was greeting people at the yoga studio, and people would come in late. And if they were late, you don't make class at my studio.
Mm.
So they would talk to me for like the whole hour, and they would talk. And I'm like, like, I think I'm like helping people, like just like talking to them. All my friends would come to me. I was like the go-to person that everyone would come and talk to. So I was like, maybe there's something to this, whatever. So I just got curious about that. And then I was at a wedding, and this girl that I had a previous conversation with was at the wedding, and she looked amazing. She was glowing. And I went up to her on the dance floor, like kind of drunk on the dance floor with my husband at the time. And this was in that same year. And I was like, Carly, you look amazing. And she's like, Ashley, you changed my life. We had one conversation. And I was like, what? Like, this
Yeah.
is crazy. And I just turned to Todd, my husband, and I was like, I think I'm supposed to be a life coach.
Oh, I got full body chills.
I just like
Like,
downloaded, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
wow.
Is that a living? Can you make money doing that? Like, I had no clue. And I didn't do anything about it for a while because a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to be a coach? And who am I to do this and that? Like, fast forward, all these years, I now train coaches to be world-class coaches. So it's just very interesting, which I know we'll get to. But so I ended up investing and becoming a coach and starting my coaching business. And I was teaching a lot of yoga. I was coaching a lot of people, and I was doing everything in person. Didn't know the online world existed. I had an in-person office. I would host in-person workshops. Everything like we're taught marketing wise to do online, I was doing, but I was doing it in person.
Right. I can relate to that because I grew up in the ballroom dance world.
Okay.
And my dad owned a dance studio, like opened it when I was 10. So I started managing it and teaching and running a lot of things when I was like 19, 20.
Yep.
And I mean, seriously, like when I started jumping onto the online space and doing coaching, I was like, this is so hard for me because I have such a personality, and I could tell you do too, that like I didn't feel like that connected through the screen. And I was like, I sell people huge dance packages, change their life and everything. There's a physical connection there, like in person. And I've been doing that my whole life. And so like, how was I supposed to do the same thing online and have all of that, like, just vulnerability come through? It was the first couple of years for me online was very like daunting.
Yeah. It's so different. It's so different.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And I think it's even harder, especially when the better you are at it in person. So I think the people that hide behind the screen, I don't want to say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like it gives them kind of a layer of protection of like, I can be as, comforting and coachable as I need to be behind a screen. But then when they're in person, they kind of lock down. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, human interaction, like that's where I thrive. Yeah, exactly. So that was hard for me because I felt like the screen was a block.
Yeah, so interesting. So interesting. And it's cool because like when I first started, like in person, like I would lead workshops and people would pay like $25 or $20 to be there. I would have filled the room because I had a community from yoga. Like I had a local community. Yeah. And I would just offer 30-minute free sessions afterwards. And I would always get clients. Like that's literally how I started getting coaching clients. So it's like, so there's no one way to do it, but you're right. Like being in person, like I find that those workshops, having that that 90 minutes of connecting in person just builds so much trust that people are like, yeah, I want to spend 30 minutes with
It's a
you.
no-brainer. It sells
Yeah.
itself
It's
because
all
we know, and dancing was the same way when I was selling dance lessons. Like, we know what it can do for you. We know
right.
mental, physical, all the things. It's like, I'm not trying to sell you something that you don't need. When I see, if I see that you're someone that maybe has it all together or whatever, I'm not going to sit here and try to fix your life. You know what I mean? But at the
Right.
same time, if I see someone struggling, like, it's not a sales pitch. It's like you know, like a life jacket, essentially.
Yeah. So cool.
You know?
So interesting.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh, I love this. Yeah, this is like,
I don't know where like that's not really the Cliff Notes version. It's just like the version.
no, but this is so fantastic because I think it's such a just another representation of, like, you gotta go out there and be curious
Mhm.
and go for your dreams,
Yeah.
because you're going to be a survival guide for someone else, or you're going to change so many people's lives.
Yeah.
And you got to fight through that imposter syndrome, which I think is a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But if you wouldn't have done that, I mean, if you would have stayed in real estate, like, you
Mhm.
have such a great following, you have a very high following on Instagram, you have a huge successful academy, a podcast that's about to hit 1 million downloads. Like, all of that would have been non-existent if you wouldn't have gotten curious and said, I need more. And
Yeah.
I know I can be more, and I know I can serve better,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally. Yeah, it was a real reflection moment of like, I was, I was not allowing myself to become like who I was
Mhm.
really meant to become. And I felt that. I felt myself like hiding and holding in my light and holding in my power and wondering why I was so miserable.
Right. Well, and I mean, when you started off and said, I wanted to prove to my parents and my in-laws that
Yeah.
I had the perfect life, I had a job that was society approved and all these different things, and the car and the house and this. I mean, we all know that stories that start like that, they never end well, right?
Yeah. Totally.
So, I mean, when you're living for somebody else, or for for the past generations, or feeling like you have to prove that what you do is acceptable. And
Mhm.
I don't, I mean, I know that you wouldn't have created this brand if you didn't challenge society on a daily basis. So, I
Daily,
mean,
daily. Yes.
daily basis. That's what we do. My husband and I, same thing. We have jobs, and jobs. No, we have careers that we've
Yeah.
built that allow us to travel all the time. And we've gone multiple months and sometimes a year without a home. And I mean,
That's
just very controversial
not,
lifestyle choices,
yeah,
you
totally.
know,
I love how you
but
put that, like breaking that every day, like breaking
oh
that
yeah,
forget how you phrase it, but it was really good. And it's a
challenging society.
challenging
Yeah.
society every day. Even just today, I posted a reel about I just did a pregnancy photo shoot and I did a nude photo shoot. And I was like, I shouldn't post this. Yes, I should. No, I shouldn't. Yes, I should. Like, this isn't normal, right? Like, this isn't what would other people think? You know what I mean? Like, all of
Right.
that, no matter what level you're at, that still shows up. And it's like breaking that down to kind of just show people, like, yeah, there's no rules.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay, let's dive
Yeah.
headfirst into the nitty-gritty here. I want to know from you, um, first of all, I want to know quantum coaching.
Yeah.
Like, the word quantum is so expansive.
Mhm.
And it's a word that I think it's a buzzword that's been kind of popping up in the wellness space a lot. But I also think that, my stepmom is a Chinese medicine acupuncturist, works a lot with, the supernatural. So she uses that word all the time. So it's not an uncommon word for me, but I know a lot of people don't understand what that means. So can you explain to us a little bit what you mean when you explain, the quantum space, and how
Yeah.
that interlinks with your coaching?
Yes. So, I I believe and have studied that, our that there is an infinite number of realities available to us at all times. And so in the quantum field, when we say like operating in the quantum field, or like thinking in the quantum field, or being in the quantum field, or playing in the quantum field, what people are really saying is that in the space of unlimited possibilities, which is essentially the quantum field, that all potential realities already exist. So literally, like, whatever you believe, but just to put it this way, when God created the universe, God created every single possible potential reality. So there's really nothing new to create, essentially. My understanding, it's really about tuning into the frequency of the reality which you choose to experience. So parallel realities are like, the reality of, we have this podcast interview today and we have this podcast interview next week, right? That's just like a different reality that could have happened. And there's a reality where I already hit 1 million downloads on the podcast, and a reality where I have 30 million downloads on the podcast, right? Like, there's so many different potential realities. So what I teach my coaches in QCA, which it's a coaching certification program, and we're training our coaches to coach people, their clients, in the quantum field, right? To see their clients in the unlimited potential of who they are, right? And coaching them from that unlimited potential, which means that we have to unlearn a lot of our own beliefs and work through a lot of our own stuff to be able to see someone in all of their greatness, to see someone in all of their potential, no matter what's going on in their life, no matter how they may be limiting themselves, no matter how bad their current reality might seem, no matter how stuck it might seem for them. You're not getting caught up in their story of how they're stuck. You're helping them expand into like this quantum space, but in a way that's like holding that really safe, beautiful space for them to work through whatever's there. But you're still seeing them through that miracle consciousness of the quantum
right
field.
You're seeing, you're seeing the other timeline. You're seeing, because I agree with you. I think everything that the potential energy is there. It's already been created. It's a matter of raising our vibration to match what it is that we desire. And so I like to give the example of, lottery winners, where, they win someone randomly wins the lottery. They don't have the financial, education. They don't have, they're not vibrating on a level of being a millionaire, because it was just given to them out of nowhere. And so, they tend to say that over 90% of lottery winners, they go right back to the way they started, because they have those types of behaviors and mannerisms of how they spend money and what they do with it. And what would you do with $1 million? A lot of people that already have businesses and understand how that works, they would invest, they would do things, they would make the money work for them. But that's vibrating on a different level. That doesn't mean that we're better or worse than the person who won the $1 million. It's a matter of where it is that you want to be and what it is that you want to do. So when that happens to you suddenly, you know what I'm saying? So as you said, holding the space for someone to be able to work through that and move through the changes of becoming a higher vibrational version of themselves. Because I always say that, your new life is going to come at the cost of the old version of you and your old one. And a lot of people are like, they don't want to let go of that. They don't want to let go of some of the people in their life that are toxic. They don't want to let go of some of the things that they do, the habits that are comforting, the comfort level, the comfort zone. And you can't have both. It requires you to challenge yourself, but this is obviously what you desire, you know what I mean? And like where you want to be. But in order to get there, you have got to release all of these things that you don't really need anymore.
Amen. You know what time it is. It is time to turn your coaching calling into a coaching craft and become a world-class certified quantum coach. Applications are open right now for a very limited time to join us for this next cohort that is going to completely change the trajectory of your business and your life. And I know some of you have heard me talk about QCA over and over and over again, and some of you have just heard it for the first time, or it's like you're hearing it for the first time, and you're like, wait, maybe I do want to do this. Maybe this is the right program for me. And that is what our application process is here to help you make that decision on, is applying to the program, getting on a call with myself or my team member so we can help you make the best decision for yourself. The Quantum Coaching Academy has 4 powerful phases of transformation. We teach you all the foundations that you need to be a powerful space holder and know how to ask powerful questions. And we teach you advanced coaching tools as well to help your clients go through deep processes and really deepen their skill set. And we teach you all of the NLP content that you need, neuro-linguistic programming. We equip you with 8 certifications to be world class at taking your clients through powerful transformations to the point where your testimonials will speak for themselves. It's time to stop coaching from your own personal experience and your own personal development and what you've gone through. We want to teach you how to actually be a powerful coach. And being a powerful coach has nothing to do with your own experience. It's usually your experience that leads you to wanting to become a coach in the first place. You're like, I've gone through this powerful transformation and now I want to help other people go through it. But what got you to your transformation might not be what gets someone else to theirs. And so we have so many beautiful skills and processes and tools and certifications to help give you the confidence that you need to be able to say to someone and look at someone in the face or through Zoom and say, I know I can help you. And to be so confident in your abilities to take someone through true change, lasting change, generational healing. It's so powerful. Our community is so beautiful. It's so strong. And we're waiting for you. We're waiting for you to say yes. And I know it can feel scary. It can bring up so many different things all the way around, but I just want you to be brave enough to apply. Be brave enough to take one step and get yourself one step closer to what you see yourself doing. And I was just having this conversation with my husband. We were talking about how fast life goes by. Life goes by so quickly. And it's like, we don't have time to stress and to worry and to like focus on things that are not taking us where we ultimately want to be. We need to really embrace where we are and go for it. We need to go for the things that set our soul on fire, even if it's scary, just by taking one step at a time. So I want to invite you to apply right now. The link is in the show notes or in my Instagram bio at thequantum.coach. Apply now, set up your call, and let's see if this is the right fit for you. And we can't wait to connect to see if you are meant to be a quantum coach.
You know what I mean? And so,
just on that note,
yeah.
I think about it also in terms of like, let's just say that you're starting your coaching business or any business, but coaching, and you wake up and tomorrow you are Tony Robbins and you have the audience and income of Tony Robbins, and you literally would not be able to handle that. Right? Because your frequency, it wasn't able to adjust. Like you were just saying, like, it's like that massive thing happens in your life. Like we all want our businesses to grow, and our businesses are growing in exact relation to the way that we're elevating our frequency and working through our own beliefs and limitations.
Yeah. My former, this is hilarious. My former choir director, one of my favorite teachers ever, she would always say, we move at the speed of you.
Ooh, yeah.
And she would just wait because everyone would be talking before the class and she would not start. And she was not the teacher that was going to raise her voice and slap a ruler on the, on the desk. She was that person that was like, I'll wait. We move at the speed of you. And everyone just would get silent and respect that. And I think that's the same thing I say to myself a lot is like, we move at the speed of you, like you move at the speed of me. And some people can raise their vibrational energy faster, things click. And some people, it takes a little bit longer to learn a lesson or to let go of something, limiting beliefs, people in your life, whatever it may be. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's your
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And by understanding that and allowing the space for that, I love the example of the Tony Robbins, like if you had all of that, I'm a habits girl, right? So habits and systems, that's my like wheelhouse. And creating actual lifestyle change. And like the example I give is if you want to run a race and you work really hard, you want to win the race, versus if you just become a runner, or you want to read, well, I want to read more books. Okay, but why don't you just become a reader, right?
Yeah,
And the person who's a reader is going to have very different habits, like maybe what time they go to sleep, how many, how they read books, where they read books,
just
you know
talking.
what right? Versus I just want to read more books. That person that says they want to read more books at the end of the year is probably not going to end up reading more books because they're not changing their lifestyle around the new habit that they want to create.
Right.
And
you want to read more books, but you're putting on The Bachelor every night and watching that instead.
Exactly. And so by creating these stackable habits, they become your new lifestyle.
Yeah.
Which allows you to raise your energetic vibration because now you are leveling up and creating these really healthy habits or just desires in general. It doesn't necessarily need to be a healthy habit, but something that you desire to do, whatever that may be. You want to buy a Ferrari, you want to do, it can be something extravagant, but what are you doing to work towards that? People say those things all the time. And I go, great, like, what's your game plan for that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I just want to buy a Ferrari. Okay, great. Well, that's not going to happen just by saying it out loud. That's the first step, but like, then we got to make a plan and execute,
Totally. And work through all the beliefs that are in the way of you believing that you're worthy of buying it.
Worthiness, that stands in everyone's way. And that's, I think the hardest part. It's not about creating. I have lots of people that create all these new habits and like, I'm doing the work and it's not working. And I'm like, well, when you're doing this work, what is the belief system around you deserving what it is you're working for? And then we start dissecting that. It's like, oh, that's where the block is, girl. It's like that right there is you don't believe that you deserve this. You're just trying to check all the boxes. Again, it comes back to the perfectionism, right? It always does. It's like, if I check all the boxes and I sign my name on the dotted line, I'm going to get the thing that I desire. And it's like, that's not really how the energy and the quantum field works. You have to believe that you are worthy of this thing or, experience or whatever it is you're desiring. You can't just check a bunch of boxes. It's not a very logical place.
If that were the case, then we would all be millionaires.
Totally. Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about this post that you made. You made this post and I was it just hit home and resonated in so many ways. You talk a lot because we haven't really talked on my podcast about coaches coaching coaches. You know what I mean? Like we talk about, I always say that coaches need coaches, and I talk about my business coach, my manifestation coach, my life coach, my therapist, and all the things that have helped me get where I am today. But we don't really talk about what it means to coach people to be a coach. And there's so much, like you said, imposter syndrome in that and all these different things. And you made a post the other day about 5 tips when you find yourself defaulting into fix-it mode, which I think as coaches, we tend to do a lot, especially at the beginning of our careers, because we're trying so hard to be the best coach we can be and give the most value to these clients who just paid, money to
work with you.
Yeah. And the idea is it doesn't matter if it's $200 or if it's $2,000 or if it's $20,000. You, based on where you are and what you think your service is worth, that's where you're going to have some hiccups if you feel like I'm not giving them the value.
100%.
Because I've had coaches or friends of mine that have in the wellness space that are like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel like I'm giving them enough value. I'm like, well, how much is your program? It's $400. And I'm like, I about choke because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I charge $4,000. and
Right.
they don't think that they're giving the value. And I'm sure that they're giving way more than they expect, so it's just like where we draw that line. And so you had a bunch of things in here. I want you to talk about it, and we can hit on these points, but I'm sure you're going to hit on a bunch of them anyway. But go ahead and explain a little bit of what you meant about that.
Yeah. I think that one of the biggest challenges and problems that I see in newer coaches that say like, okay, this is my calling. This is what I want to do in life. I know that I want to be a coach, and they come to me and they're like, I'm ready for QCA. I want to learn how to like master my craft and all of that. And initially, they believe that coaching is helping someone. So a lot of people come into the coaching space because they've been through their own personal transformation. Right. And I've heard this so many times where coaches come in and they're like, I went through hell and I want to help people never have to go through the hell that I went through.
Correct.
And that's awesome, because that's like your mission coming through. That's like that calling of like, I'm here to help people, but also who are you to say that someone's not meant to go through that hell? So the thing is that people are on their perfect journeys, and our job as coaches isn't to fix them or to help them avoid going through what you went through, because it's not about you or what you went through helping them. It's really about learning how to like actually coach them and put them into their own discovery so that they can heal and work through that themselves. I actually don't remember the tips that I had in that post. I can pull it up and go through
Yeah,
them.
no worries. So a couple of
Yeah.
things. Well, I just love what you said though. God, that rings so true. Your job is not to take away their pain.
No.
Because if you take away their pain and their struggle, it's that whole concept. It eliminates what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Because they're not going to be as strong as you by going through that. You're going to just fix it all for them, and they're going to come out very differently. So I think as a coach, that light bulb moment just happened right now. I think as a coach, you're supposed to, guide them through the space, make it a little bit easier. Give them some more tools and resources that you learned along the way, but allow them to trial and error as you did to find their answer, which probably will look very different from, your answer at the end of your journey.
Exactly. Like
of this particular chapter.
You as the coach are not the expert at someone else's life, which is like a huge aha moment for so many people. And it's a huge relief because you don't have to do as much legwork as you're doing as a coach. Your job is to understand that they are the expert. Your clients are the expert at their life. No one's a better expert at their life than they are. And your job is to not solve their problem. When they come into the session with a problem and they're like, I'm in this relationship and whatever their problem is, we're not solving their problem. We're not helping them solve their problem. We're helping them shift their energy around the problem. So like, I teach NLP as well, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a lot about like the subconscious mind. And so, at any given moment, we're receiving through all of our senses, like 2.6 million bits of information at one time. And our minds are deleting things that we don't need, distorting things and generalizing things, putting things in buckets and filtering them through. And we're really only consciously aware of 126 bits of that information. And so essentially what we're doing is we're helping our clients shift their energy so that because they're only looking through to their problem at that same 126 bits, we're helping them shift their 126 bits, right? So that they see a different perception of the problem. So it's no longer a problem, right? Their energy shifts around it. So we're never coaching the problem or the challenge or whatever it is. We're always and only, this is what I teach my students, coaching them around, coaching their energy around the problem. And if you know
the belief system, the limiting belief that's holding them back from seeing that this is not that it's not a real problem, but how can we shift? What does it say? You can't change someone else. You can only change your reaction to them. Yes. So it's the same kind of concept as if you change your viewpoint on it, something that might look so devastating at the beginning, might actually be, something great in your life. Totally. What does it say? Again, when I'm full of, all the metaphors that when one door closes, another one opens. A lot of people don't see that, the the relationship that didn't work out, the job they didn't get, that those are actually like, thank goodness that didn't happen because it was for something better.
Right. Yeah. And it might not be clear to them in the moment.
Right.
And that's another thing that comes up as coaches is like, sometimes our clients, they're stuck for multiple sessions. Maybe they're stuck the whole time you're coaching with them. Maybe they haven't had that like massive shift, but we talk about like quantum shifts and quantum leaps, right? So like the quantum shifts are those little shifts in their awareness, little shifts in their perspective that they're like, oh yeah, okay, I see that a little bit differently. And that compounds over time. And so
Yes.
a lot of coaches, like you were talking about, like feel like, okay, I have to make sure that they're getting the value. I used to think that every time someone left a session with me, they had to be flying high, like flying high on their disco stick. Like really, like I wanted them to be so high vibe and feeling so amazing. And the truth is that's not what transformation is. Transformation is trusting in the process of transformation is a huge, huge thing as a coach, because it might not happen in the 3 months or 6 months that you're working together, but the following 3 months or 6 months, that person might be just exploding, right, in their life in the best possible ways.
Well,
So
it takes people time for things to really settle or for things to take effect. I know that that's happened with me. I just started doing hypnotherapy, and in my sessions, sometimes I feel like, like that was great. We talked through some things. Okay, great. And then like I've had some moments where like a week later after my session, I had this like huge thing that happens in this experience that negatively or positively, I'm like, oh my God, this is what we were just talking about. How can I move through this differently? And it takes putting it into practice in real time for you to actually see, am I reacting differently now than I was before? Are the shifts happening, or am I still feeling triggered by some of this stuff?
Totally. Yeah. To see your own growth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just for the top 5, just for people who are interested, and obviously all of Ashley's links will be in the show notes. So you can go and look at all of her great stuff on Instagram. But for number 1, people are not broken. They may feel broken. People may feel broken. They are 2 very different things. Number 2, don't jump into action plan to fix their problem. Leave space for the client to express and listen deeply, which is what we've discussed. Number 3, come from wholeness in your coaching. It creates a lot more possibility for the client to release what isn't serving them, rewire that old energy, and receive what they truly desire. 4, wholeness is already available. It's your skill as a coach in helping the client access that for themselves. Very cool. Love that.
Wow, that's a good post.
It really is. And then number 5 is do self-inquiry. If you think someone needs fixing, when did I decide people could be broken and need to be fixed? And I think that, that's interesting too, because that is kind of like pulling it back onto yourself as a coach.
Yes.
That why, we don't have, why are people broken? What constitutes the definition of someone is broken? I think as coaches, when the deeper you get into your practice, you realize no one's really broken. We're just unlearning a lot of society conditioning and programming that we've grown up with, because nobody comes out of childhood unscathed. And we're just moving through the world, trying to figure out how to deal with all of these, things that we've conditioned, these belief systems that we've conditioned to have. And we're trying to make sure that they don't interfere with the things that we desire, but they're really holding us back. And a lot of people don't know how to unlearn them.
Yes. Beautifully said. And I think that the work of becoming a coach is so much. It's yes, you're going to learn the skills to help somebody else, but you're also really going through your own deep transformation of, peeling back your beliefs and your layers so that you can be a really clear mirror for when you're working with your clients. Because if you're coming in with your own filters and your own opinions and your subjectiveness, it's really going to limit your client, because you're coming in from your limited perception versus from the quantum field.
Totally. Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about your podcast. How long has your podcast been going now?
Yeah. We started the podcast, I think it was June 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
it's been around. It's been around.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, I subscribe to it. I've known it for a while before I think I even found you.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
like your personal, your coaching Instagram. I think I just happened to subscribe to it. When you first started, because I mean, that's the thing. People look at,
Yeah,
other people's chapter 20s, you know where I'm going with this,
of course.
and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't start a podcast, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And it's like, but like, let's go back and look at our first episode. Like, I know you and I would cringe at our first
Mm,
episodes. Like, how do we do this? This feels weird. You know what I mean?
yeah.
What do you feel? How many episodes have you done to this point? Do you know?
No, like over like 252,
Okay. Yeah, it's
probably
in the
close to
hundreds.
300. Yeah, probably.
Totally. So, yeah, I mean, I think so. Our Recovering Perfectionist just passed 50 episodes.
Awesome.
And even in just 50 episodes with the guests I've had, and the whole reason that it started was for me to have this like audio journal, basically, because I'm not much of a journaler, but I
Mhm.
love to like, I can just get on a camera or get on a podcast and start talking. And that's very therapeutic for me. So I was
Yeah.
like, I felt like in my past, I had been so on and perfect. And every time, I would be visible to the public, I would be very curated and edited.
Mhm.
And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't want to be that anymore. I can't be that anymore because there's so much happening behind the scenes. And when I started my personal growth journey, I was like, this is just not like, this isn't real. I'm showing people this beautiful thing on the outside, and it's just not, that's not how my day to day is. So I
Yeah.
started getting into this. And because of the name, I had so many people reach out to me and say, oh my God, I love the name of your podcast. I resonate with that. I would love to talk about XYZ. And they would bring their specialty into it. And I would have all these expert guests. So I ended up only having like 2 or 3 per season of just me talking. But we had so many great conversations and deep things. And as I started moving through the seasons, because I try to keep them short, I do about 11 episodes per season just to keep it
Oh,
nice and, easy to absorb. And I felt like, oh my gosh, like I would see what people would resonate with,
mhm.
and things that I thought maybe, oh, this is going to hit,
Mhm.
just like viral content. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
it was something that was just this little episode I did about self-care is not selfish. Right.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's a good buzzworthy title, but like that resonated with so many more people than something maybe I had curated a little bit more to do.
Totally.
And so what has surprised you the most about doing your podcast? And I'm sure you've got, guests as well on that in over 250, 300 episodes, almost hitting
Yeah.
a million downloads now. What's the feedback you've been getting?
Yeah, the feedback has always been like, whoa, like it's really been super impactful for people. And I would say like in the beginning, I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, oh, everyone has a podcast these days.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna make it. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I actually remember the very first episode, speaking of, because you had mentioned it, I was so nervous about it. And I remember sitting with my mom, because my mom is like, she is like my biggest critic and my biggest fan. And like a lot of my perfectionism definitely comes from her. Shout out,
Yeah.
mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember just like sitting there with her and she listened to it and she looked at me and she was like, this is amazing. Like she was crying and like I was
Oh,
crying and she's like, this is going to be so big. And like she felt into the bigness of it. And it was really, really powerful. So like I really let the episodes flow very, very intuitively. And it's been like one of the best things that I've ever done in my life, in my business. Like I'm so
wow.
proud of the podcast. I feel so, so, so grateful for all of our listeners. Like it's just been, it's been a joy. It really has been. It's been such a joy to like produce that podcast. And um it's it's so interesting too, like the people that you meet, like we just met today, right? But like what a cool connection, and
Yeah.
just the people and the networking that you do from hosting a podcast is just so powerful. I love it so much.
Yeah, that for me is like, that takes the cake. Like, honestly, I could have like a few listeners, and the amount of people I'm able to reach out to. I mean, just having you here on this podcast, you know, like the vulnerability and the just the connection, like you said, that it gives people to be able to have a free space. We're holding space for a conversation. Like, every time I start with someone, they're like, I'm so excited, let's dig in. Like, we just can't wait. And I think that we've all, after years and years and years of growing up the way that we did, and technology coming in so fast and all these things, we're just all like craving the space to hold for this type of conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people have podcasts, is because they're realizing that it's a sacred space that is being created that allows us to speak freely. I feel like I can say anything on a podcast. Like, I mean,
I know there's times where I've said way too much. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's so intimate though, right? Like, you're literally, think about it. You're in like, we're in your ears right now. You're hearing us talk. We're literally in your ears having like a very intimate conversation, and we're building so much rapport this way and trust this way. And it's just like a really beautiful, unique platform that it's like so cool.
It is. I agree. I think it hits different than any other social media platform for me. I don't even consider it really a social media. It's more like it's on the parallel of YouTube for me, you know, very archive, like you have things you can refer back to. It's kind of a library of information. And I think it's incredible, the kinds of conversations I've been able to have as a guest and as a host. And just listening to things. I'll just pop on a podcast when I'm, you know, in the shower, and just listen to something that maybe came out that week. And I'm like, I'm in the shower going, yes, that is, like, you just feel so connected when somebody says something that resonates with you.
Yeah. And it's like you're part of the conversation.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly it. It feels like you're really part of the conversation. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So you are officially in your third trimester of pregnancy. First child?
Yep.
First child. So exciting. So happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And how I've not had kids yet. I've been married for about a year and a half. How I've heard that you're just, everything just kind of shifts. Everything you thought you knew about yourself and everything that you thought you had under control, all of a sudden you have to kind of release a lot of those, you know, surrender to the process of pregnancy. How has that shifted your mindset? You know, with building this business, now you're building a human. How has your perfectionism maybe come back into play, that you're maybe having to, you know, you're feeling a little triggered? Or how have you just kind of felt like you prepared for this your whole life? I don't know where you're at.
Well, a little backstory of just, it took us about 3 years to get pregnant.
Okay.
So we went through quite the fertility journey, I should say. And we did IVF twice. So I've had to break through, like, perfectionism was really, really, really intense for me when I had to surrender to, like, this is the way that this is happening. And I was trying to control the way that it was all happening. So I feel like the fertility journey, getting us pregnant, really helped me kind of like release that and surrender that up, because it was such a hard decision for me to make, of like, okay, like, this isn't going to happen naturally. Like, this is going to happen through science and help and support. And so I have to, like, really,
that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're broken either.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I had a breakthrough. I had to go through all of that.
Yeah.
And so that did really set me up for surrendering deeper into this process. And it's been really interesting, because third trimester, like all summer, being pregnant, second trimester was like a dream. It was like, I was barely working. My team had everything under control. And then it was like, as soon as third trimester hit, shit blew up inside the business. Like, team members left, transitions were happening. Like, a lot of like team stuff was going on. And I've been working more now than I have in like over a year in my business. And so the perfectionism like reared its head again, of like, okay, I need to let go of control. I need to trust. I need to lean in. It might not look the way that I wanted it to look going on maternity leave. And that I have to just be okay with that.
Right.
You know, so it definitely has shown up big time.
Yeah.
And I'm in that right now. I'm still in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable about it. Like it's real, And I mean, as much as, like you said, you're posting certain things and you're trying to be there for everybody and all this stuff, you've got a
Mhm.
great team and leaning into that. But there's still, the journey never ends. It's a
The journey never
continual
ends.
growth process.
It really is. And, when you're comparing yourself to someone who's like ahead of you in business, or, you're like, one day I'll be there, whatever it is, like, just know that that person's also comparing themselves to someone else and saying the same exact things.
That's it. There's
And
always someone above that they're looking to.
yeah, or comparing to a past version of themselves. Like, there's just so much.
Yeah.
And we all go through it, and we're not alone in that, for sure. We're not exempt. Nobody's exempt.
Absolutely. Nobody's exempt from that. I
Yeah.
completely agree. I think that just by doing the work, just to give people some, you know, confidence that the work does work, is
Yes.
seeing that, first of all, the healing process. I mean, the healing process is something, again, we talked about, not, no one comes out of childhood unscathed, and everyone has their own versions of limiting beliefs and different things that they're working through, traumas, all that. So healing all of that, starting with, how can I get rid of some of this messiness that's in
Mhm.
my life that's not serving me? Because messiness is good, right?
Yeah.
I talk about taking messy action. Obviously, that's, the recovering perfectionist kind of motto. But the messiness that's not serving you towards the greater good is the kind of the stuff that we want to remove, or we want to, heal, so that we can move forward. But then you learn so many tools and resources and ways to deal with your triggers and all of these things, that you can then, when things pop up, that doesn't mean that things don't pop up. I mean, it doesn't get easier when you're spending $400 to when you're spending $40,000.
No.
There's all these limiting beliefs that pop up, but it's like, we got to go back to the work and go back to, it's not on the great days that you're going to need those meditations. It's on the days that you're struggling, you know?
Yeah, but also I think, like, doing them on the great days isn't just as important.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I totally
Yeah.
agree. It's the concept for me. It's like the physical body, it's preventative.
Yeah.
Don't wait till you start getting a cough to take care of yourself. Like, get the good sleep before, and you'll never get the cough.
Yes. I love
you
that.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, this is amazing. I could literally talk to you forever.
So
You
fun.
you just have such an energy about you, and I just love what you're doing, by helping people help people. That's exactly,
Yes.
you're literally doing that. You're doing that through your podcast, you're doing that through your academy. I'm obviously going to put all of your links and stuff in in the show notes. Tell people though, what you have to offer and where we can
Yeah.
where they can reach you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been awesome to connect with you and have this conversation. Yeah, you can always find me on Instagram. I'm at thequantum.coach. And, you know, I have one offering, and that is the Quantum Coaching Academy. That is like our entire business. And it is an 8 certification program. We're accredited with the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation. And we really are training the next generation of healers and coaches and facilitators to be world class at their craft. And I really do believe that is what magnetizes success to you, is like when you know that you can help someone have a really powerful, deep transformation, that you can look them in the eyes or look them in through the Zoom screen and say, like, very confidently, I know I can support you. And it makes them feel safer in their investment with you. And then they have like amazing transformations, and they're posting about you on the internet. And then all of a sudden, all these people are coming to you. So yeah, so QCA is it's a rolling enrollment program. So if you feel called to it, feel free to put Christine's name on the application so that we know that you listen to this podcast.
Yes.
And yeah, and we get on application calls with everyone. It's very, very low pressure. It's just important to connect with every single person that comes through the door. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. I want to thank you again for what you're doing.
You too.
My community, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, my academy is the same way with my business partner. Our audience knows I have Freedom Mindset Academy, and we're helping entrepreneurs scale their life and their business without burnout. and just all of that. Like, these things we do not learn this in school, people. How many times do we have to tell you this? Like, this is the the furthering of your education right here, because it's not just about your school intelligence, but it's about your life. And just know that, like, if you're struggling in any way, or you feel like you could be doing more, like Ashley's story at the beginning when she was in real estate. I mean, making a lot of money doesn't necessarily always mean you're happy, and a lot of times it doesn't. And so just do some reflection on that. There's a lot of great resources out there for people now, and that's why we're doing this. That's why we both have podcasts, is to really bring to the attention that these resources exist and they are there for you. And they can transform your life, and you got to believe that, because we believe it. We've seen it, so we can't believe it for you. But any just Ashley, last thoughts for the day, just anything having to do with anything.
Yeah, I just think, the most important thing that you can do is follow your excitement, follow your bliss, follow your passions. It will never lead you in the wrong direction. And it might feel scary, but also, like, sometimes it's scarier not to do those things. So follow your highest excitement right now, whatever that is.
Lead with your heart, not your head.
Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.